Da na 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 na. Da na 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 na. Hello, y'all. It's your boy Floyd coming at you live. We're gonna get right into it because we have an action-packed session that's only 25 whole minutes. So I want to start by talking about our friends at DonorSearch. DonorSearch is the nonprofit sector's go-to partner for prospect research, wealth screening, and AI-driven fundraising intelligence. Y'all have me at wealth screening, okay? Come on, somebody. They empower organizations to find and engage donors with greater accuracy, speed, and confidence, so they can raise more money and fuel their missions with a lasting impact. They don't just deliver data, they help you turn it into action. Trusted by over 13,000 nonprofits, DonorSearch is redefining what's possible in modern fundraising. When you have better insights, you make better decisions. And when you make better decisions, you raise more for the support and the work that matters. Y'all, DonorSearch is an amazing demo, so check them out right now.
DonorSearch is absolutely leading the way in AI right now.
DonorSearch AI is custom machine learning models predicting likelihood of repeat and future giving for nonprofits.
We now have some of the largest nonprofits as clients that are using predictive AI to kind of steer how they make choices about investing time, which is exactly what it was designed for.
DonorSearch AI is the holy grail of data-driven decisions. We are able to predict who is going to give you a gift in the next 12 months.
It's always been about how do we bring the most value to our nonprofit clients.
One of the things that sets us apart is the accessibility and availability of the data that we actually deliver. We want our data to work where our clients want to work.
Hearing the fantastic testimonials from our clients about dollars that they've raised, money that they've saved, that is very fulfilling because not only are you helping raise the dollars, but you're also helping build those connections for a nonprofit that's going to be able to leave a wonderful legacy.
Yes, y'all, learn more at donorsearch.net and book a demo today. Well, I'm excited to introduce the main speaker for this next session, Kathy Phelps, who is the Associate Vice President for DonorSearch AI, where she helps nonprofits harness predictive machine learning to drive more strategic fundraising. A lifelong nonprofit professional, she is passionate about turning data into actionable insights and empowering colleagues and clients to adopt technology that strengthens missions. Previously, she spent a decade at Children International supporting global programs in health, education, and youth development. Y'all, can you help me welcome to the stage the one, the only, Kathy Phelps.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. Thank you so much for taking the time at the end of your day. 2 awesome days of sessions and presentations, and I'm super grateful that you've been able to come and join us. So for today's conversation, I'm really excited to start to talk about how we drive impact with AI. And I hope that in the next 20 minutes or so, I'll help you to make the case for investing in change management alongside your AI implementations. So as Floyd mentioned, I've been working in this space, in the nonprofit space for close to 20 years at this point, and the last 6 focused on AI implementations with organizations across the country. I lead a team of solutions architects, and we're really the liaison for partners. Many of you I see are from different nonprofits. So we partner with our nonprofit end users so that we can be the liaison with our data science team and walk them through the entire journey. So we'll talk a little bit about what we've seen in terms of AI adoption. And I hope that I'll be able to share a little bit of information that will be particularly helpful for you all as you go back and take all of the great information, ideas, and continue to apply them to your organizations and your spaces going forward. I will do my best to keep my eye on the chat. There will be an opportunity for questions and answers at the end. So I will, we'll take a look at that, but definitely keep posting them there. Happy to talk more about anything in there. All right. So to kick us off and to dive in, I want to talk about AI adoption, and I want to call attention to a recent MIT report called the Gen AI Divide, the State of AI in Business 2025. So this is a report that reviewed 300 different organizations, interviewed their leaders to understand how AI initiatives are impacting the business community. And hopefully from what you see in that orange text on the screen, it's both scary and challenging. And this is what the news headlines were saying. There is a ton of investment that is being made in AI right now. But the scary part is 95% of organizations are getting zero return. And so for the purposes of this report, it was focused on organizations that are seeing productivity or bottom line returns in terms of profits and losses. So, but that's the headline. So towards the end of the summer, you may have seen some of those flashy headlines about it. But if you actually dive deeper, there's quite a bit more that I'm actually quite optimistic about what we can do, because there's a lot within our worlds where we can work to change that and to be able to see. And we're sort of at that space, right? We know that generative AI, predictive AI, the number of people that are using it now is significant. But now we have to look at how do we actually bring it into our organizations to get that true impact. So to take a look at that, and I definitely encourage, if you have a chance, to take the time to read a little bit more about this report. It does specifically mention some of the barriers, and this is where what we're going to talk about the rest of this time is really going to come in. So some of the barriers that they mentioned that 95% of organizations are facing include challenges in change management. So that's going to be, we're going to talk about that. Also, which goes alongside it, lack of executive sponsorship. So there's a lot of testing going on of what can we do with these different pilots. In order for us to see that bottom line difference and to make a true impact, we want to make sure that from leadership on down, that there is sponsorship and understanding of what we're trying to accomplish by bringing AI into this space. There's poor user experience. Sometimes there's model output and quality concerns, which, although I think that's often an area that people go to quickly, in my experience, it actually hasn't been the primary case. And then just sometimes there's folks that are unwilling to adopt new tools, and it's natural, right? We resist change on a regular basis, so we have to really lean in and work on that. So these barriers really resonate with the work that I do, working with organizations as well as the team that I support. And so on our day-to-day basis, there's kind of three key things that we see. Number one, no matter what that AI tool or implementation is, just because you purchase it, just because you have ChatGPT on your phone or you now have Copilot on your computer, that doesn't mean that the change has happened, right? So we can't expect that AI is just going to magically happen and change things. We actually have to look at how we bring it into our organization. And that's sort of the second bullet here, is aligning your AI initiative to your strategy, to your mission, to specific use cases. And again, we'll dive a little bit deeper on that. And then finally, sustaining change. It's tough. I've seen tons and tons of pilots in the work that I do with organizations every day. There's things that we're trying and testing, but in order to truly sustain that change, we need to have that communication. We need to have clear expectations of what we think was going to happen with our initiative, and then talk about what actually happened, maybe even troubleshoot through some areas that were challenges to truly make it a sustaining effort. And I do believe that with these changes, this is where we can change that from 95% not yet seeing that bottom line impact from their AI initiatives to actually seeing change. So I always like to look at it from the perspective of, let's look at some organizations that have started along the way. I know many of you are probably at different stages in your AI implementations. I work largely in the predictive AI space, though generative AI clearly has come into the work that I do, as well as the initiatives I hear about from the organizations that I work with. We're going to look at a few specific examples where teams have been able to bring AI implementations into their organization and how they've actually been able to succeed. And again, it's going to probably go back to some of those barriers that others were facing that were challenges. All right, so I'm going to look at it from the lens of the MIT report. And I want to paint the picture of these three different shops that our team has worked with. So first, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is a Woodmark hospital located in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is really a story about how this team brought machine learning models in to improve their prospecting for major gifts. So this is going to be a use case that's very focused on major gift work. So if you're looking to enhance your major gift strategy with AIs, it's a good example for you. So straightforward, at the beginning of 2024, they largely replaced what they were doing previously with identifying prospects to pass along to gift officers for having conversations about closing major gifts, and replace that process with a machine learning algorithm that was based on different engagement information, identifying who is most likely to give to the organization. And so by doing this, they actually were able to, it's a clear use case, right? We see that there's what the current state is here are the ways that they are identifying prospects using data points, likely from different areas. Maybe they were recently a family that had, a child with a visit or what have you. And then going to using this machine learning model that was pulling in, many, many different data points to be able to help make predictions about who's most likely to make a gift, and then making sure that their gift officers could get in front of those folks. So 2 successful results that they actually saw from this. First, they accelerated the time to closing a major gift. So they had one example in particular where they went from a phone conversation to closing a $50,000 gift in less than a month, which is pretty significant. And that's exciting. And that's, tying the good work of that gift officer being able to make a phone call to someone that is well positioned and wants to give to the organization. And that's the ideal scenario, is that we're using AI to link 2 humans up to be able to benefit that organization. In addition to that, the team also tracked information about qualification. So that's looking at individuals that were identified by their AI model as an individual that would be that's likely to give, and then actually looking at how many of those individuals were qualified into a major gift portfolio. And when they looked at that, they actually increased their major gift qualification rate, so pushing more individuals into portfolios than they were previously, and just using a comparison of year over year. And then by doing that, those gift officers also have more time to be able to spend with prospects, right? Because they're not having to go through that qualification process with as many, because they're moving more people into their portfolio. So that's pretty exciting as well, because number one, if for those of you that are gift officers, who really wants to spend time calling folks that don't want to talk to you? So increasing those odds is always great. We've seen similar scenarios we have another organization that did this with their regional visit program. So trying to make phone calls saying, hey, I'm going to be in this city, I'd love to connect with you. They saw increases from 3 to 15%. That's pretty significant, right? I'd much rather have a 15% rate than a 3% rate. So a few takeaways from this, going back to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So they had a very clear understanding of what their current state was before they had their AI implementation. And then they had an understanding of what the future state was, actually using a machine learning algorithm to identify prospects and push them into portfolios. So a clearly identified use case of how AI is going to be brought in. The second piece is they looked at what was the qualification rate before, what was the qualification rate afterwards. They had conversation because they received feedback from the gift officer who said, hey, I was able to get on the phone with one of these individuals and actually close a gift of this size in this amount of time. That's critical feedback as you're starting to pilot and then be able to scale up, because of course we want to be doing more of the things that are working and less of the things that aren't. So really straightforward items, being able to integrate innovative AI technology with human understanding and project management and change management work. So some highlights there. Switching gears, looking at another one of the organizations that we work with, Maltz Jupiter Theater in South Florida. This is an annual giving example here. So looking at this as a use case where they came in, they also had a machine learning model that was built out. So again, predictive AI, saying, hey, we have some ways that we have sent out mail pieces in the past. And now that we have this model, we want to adjust and change how we're doing that. So they compared mailing results year over year in their direct mail program. And what they actually saw were improvements in first-time acquisitions once they used the machine learning model to identify and help build the segment of who they were sending mail pieces to. They saw recaptures of lapsed donors, which is fabulous, and then overall response rate increases. So another application of where they were able to, they had a very clear use case, said this is something that we're going to do. And it may sound silly, but in identifying how AI can help you in an annual giving space, you can, for segmentation, it's remembering what were the ways I was segmenting before, and then look at, now that I have this AI tool, how do I want to do this differently? It's very common when we talk about sustaining those efforts, it's very common to fall back to what were the ways that I would segment my file in the past. And so it's pivoting and saying, I'm going to use my AI information first and help me build this list, and then figure out, do I still need those other filters, let's say, or is that maybe already considered in what my machine learning model is doing? And maybe what I had before, doesn't need to be applied. And again, you're able to really identify who is the population that we want to reach out to. And we're essentially using statistics to be able to help us understand who's most likely to respond to our mail piece. And moving on to our third example, also an annual giving example, but wanted to share this one, which is pretty exciting. Peconic Bay Medical Center on Long Island, New York. Their team came to us with a problem to solve. They were asked to cut their budget and maintain their revenue. I'm sure, I don't know, anybody want to add in the chat, has that happened to you in the last year, 2 years, having to cut that budget? So they said, we need help to figure out, we know that, we have a machine learning model that can help us in doing that. So as similar to what we were talking about with Maltz Jupiter, in their situation, they were pushed a little bit more in terms of trying this out. We looked at the file and identified the top individuals that they could reach out to. There was a trust but verify, right? It was a much smaller pool of people to send mail pieces to. However, it was much more targeted. And what ultimately they were able to see is that they mailed 75% fewer mail pieces. And they not only maintained their revenue, but they grew the revenue. Because the other part of this is the model that they had was looking at people that are engaging with them. There were likely other data points that, from the human eye standpoint, from some of the basics data points that I know I used myself when I worked in healthcare to identify who are the best prospects to respond to a mail piece or a call from a major gift officer. The model was picking up on other patterns and information that I wasn't aware of. And in this case, they weren't aware of. And as a result, they were able to see increased efficiency and actually some increases in revenue. And again, this is another example. All three of these, you see, there's measurement in there. We can actually see the change that has happened. And then we're also able to, it was a very specific and clear use case. All right, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but just again, a shout out to the Association for Change Management Professionals, a suggested resource linked to their website here. There are 5 process groups that they talk about when you're looking at change management. I would highly encourage any of you that are working on AI implementations and bring into your organization to check it out. Think about some of the questions that you see listed up here, because I talk to a lot of organizations that say, hey, my board is really pressuring me to do something with AI, but I'm not quite sure what to do. So I would say to you, that's in that first piece of evaluate the change. What is the use case that you're wanting to identify? Looking at, so really looking at, what are the specific use cases that tie into the work that my organization is doing, and how can AI help to augment and support that? I'm loving some of the chat in here. So just from a matter of time, there's we could spend there's many sessions we could probably spend just talking about this alone, and it's fascinating, and I absolutely encourage you to check it out. I want to also highlight a few things when we think about it, of a checklist that our team often uses in working with organizations on predictive AI. So is your organization ready? Sort of looking at it, broad strokes in 2 areas. Technically, is your organization set up to capture, transfer, and use data to support your AI initiative? What has your data capture process looked like, and over what period of time? If you're just starting out, it's absolutely okay to know we want to capture data, and here is why. Using AI can help you, but you have to make sure that you have the data quality in place. What are the different data channels? In the work that I do, we're looking at all the different ways people are engaging with an organization and using that to help understand who wants to engage in fundraising. So if you're having incredibly meaningful conversations through programs or things like that, if you're not capturing it and able to bring it into the model's not going to be able to build off of that data. So looking at the data channels, understanding the data quality. And then on the flip side, the infrastructure for data use. Once you actually get information pulled together, how are you going to disseminate it back so that you can be actionable in working with it? So that's on the technical side. Then we flip over to the cultural side. Is your organization ready to adapt to new information, to processes and behaviors? And this is the world that's challenging. We can be excited about AI, but then we have to recognize the communication needs to be there. We do need to have those sponsors. We have to understand what are the other changes that are going on across the organization that could potentially take time away from folks being able to really understand how to bring AI into the environment. So once we bring both of those together, big fan of 4-quadrant boxes. So if we look at it this way, we can see our cultural cultural journey there, and then the technical journey. So on the upper right, we've got our innovative trailblazers. Those are the folks that they have their data together, consistently able to work with it and share it. And then on the flip side, also really digging in to understand how can I bring AI into the work that I'm doing to be able to see results. I think I will leave it on that. This time goes by very, very quickly. I know we probably don't have a ton of time for questions. I hope this was brought it to practical terms, and happy to answer any questions if there are any here.
Hello, we do have we have maybe one question that we can answer in the chat. Let's see. Oh, did you answer the question from Andrea? Andrea is getting these points today, okay? What needs to be in place at your org before AI becomes a game changer rather than just another shiny object that drains your budget or no budget? I know that's right. What have you learned about getting your team and systems ready for this kind of change?
That is an awesome question. And I think getting ready, learning, I will say we've looked at just even the members of our team to see what kind of motivates folks and what's interesting. Learning is so super important. Understanding that AI is changing so many things that we have to get comfortable with. Change is going to happen. We're going to feel uncomfortable, but we also want to dig into learning. So understanding and trying things, right? So if we're in that learning culture where we can focus on, you know, how, you know, here's how we do it today and understand that, and that's great, but then start to learn, what if we bring AI in this way? That learning culture is going to be very important, and really from the top downward, because sometimes you're going to learn things that are going to tell you this isn't the direction we're going to go with this initiative. And that's super important. And so communication and learning, I would say those are probably some really important building blocks that you're going to have to be able to bring these, bring change management into your projects.
That's so good. Communication and learning for AI and for your life. Come on, y'all. That's how you amplify impact. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. Y'all, give it up for Kathy in the chat. I want to see the hearts going. I want to see the likes going. And y'all, what did you think about that session? As always, we were asking for that feedback. So let us know. Scan the QR code or go into the chat and hit that little feedback box, okay? We want to see what you think. And let's keep the conversation going. Kathy has her very own Q&A in the lounge. Driving impact with AI Q&A. As always, go to the reception, hit the lounge button, and you can dive deep with Kathy. And y'all, our last session is upon us. Can you believe it? I feel like where did the time go? How did it all go so fast, right? Well, we have our final closing keynote with Nathan Chappell, Curiosity, Courage, and the Future of Generosity. And I want to make sure that I see each and every one of you there, okay? And CFRE certified, okay? So how you get there, hit the schedule button, and you can go ahead and automatically click in right then and there. Y'all, I'll see you in just a few minutes for our final session. See you soon.